Welcome to episode 1 of Love Ultras. I'm John Kynaston, and I thought I wanted something a bit different. I've been doing my blog for over 10 years now, and I do some video clips along my runs, and I've made quite a few different bits of videos. And I thought I'd try something a bit different, and I'd sort of start these Love Ultras and share some of my thoughts on training and on races and on various things. I'm not promising how many I'll do, not promising how often I'll do them, but I've got lots of ideas of topics and different things, so we'll see how it goes. But for this first one, I thought I'd start right at the beginning and just answer the question why I started running ultras. And I suppose it stems back right throughout my life. I've always been a keen runner. I was one of the children at school. I grew up in Liverpool that used to love cross-country races, and I've always been a keen runner. And when I got into my 20s, when I was at college training to be a PE teacher, I played football. But the last year or so, I decided to do some more running, and I started running a bit more and really enjoying that. The first job I had outside of teaching, I was working for a Christian organisation, and I couldn't play football at the weekend, so I started doing some more running. So I started in my 20s doing some 10k, well, not 10k so much, or 10 miles, and my favourite distance was the half marathon. And when I was 25, I did a half marathon, my best ever, in 1:16:22, and I did a number of half marathons around about 1:20, between 1:20 and 1:30. Did one marathon but didn't really enjoy it. I was aiming for 3 hours. I got to 20 miles. It was a really hot day and I just blew up. Anyway, so I've always been a keen runner. In my 30s, we worked overseas in Bangladesh and India, and I kept running, but not really competitively. When we came back to the UK in 95, I started running again a bit more and decided to try and run 1,000 miles a year. That was my sort of goal. And I did the odd half marathon. And then we moved up to Scotland in 2001, and I joined Kilbarchan Athletics Club. And again, just started doing some more running, a bit more speed work, and really enjoying that. Again, half marathon, 10Ks were more popular during that last 10 or 15 years. So started doing some more 10Ks. And then around about 2005, 2006, I had this calf injury, and it was just so frustrating. I couldn't run. It kept flaring up. I'd stop, I'd rest it for a while, then I'd run for a few days and it'd be okay, and then it would pick up again. So I got an appointment with the physio at the RAH, the local hospital here in Paisley, the Royal Alexandra Hospital, and there was a physio called Katrina, who was a keen runner, and she was keen to get me running again, and she was working on the scar tissue on my calf. And then she discovered that she wanted to put me on a treadmill and on a pressure pad just to see how my foot was running, how I was running. And she realised that I've got a bunion on my right foot, and it was putting all the pressure on my second toe, which was going up to my calf. And so she got some insoles made for me, and the difference they made was amazing. I started running. That was the summer of 2006. And so I started to run again, and as the weeks went by and I didn't get injured and it wasn't hurting, I suddenly thought, oh, maybe I can run again, because I'd resigned myself to the fact that mid-40s, I was probably the best I could do is a few runs on the grass once, 2-3 times a week. But suddenly I could run again, and I was running with pain-free, and I just absolutely loved it. And so I decided to look for a new challenge. And I thought about doing a road marathon, but it just didn't appeal at all. And then one day I used to get a magazine called My Race magazine, which was a Scottish-based magazine. And on this particular front cover, there was a picture of James Snodgrass, who's one of the runners in our club at Kilbarchan. And I thought, oh, maybe the magazine's all about him. So I bought it. The first time I'd got the magazine, I think. And inside there was an article all about the West Highland Way race. Now, I've been involved in running all my life, but I was aware of ultra running. I was aware of there's a guy in Greece who was an amazing runner who did massive distances, but I honestly just thought it was only for the elite. I didn't realise it was a sport that ordinary people like me could take part in. And so I read that magazine, I read the article, and it was just amazing. It was talking about this race on the West Highland Way route, which I'd heard about. We've always enjoyed mountain walking and trails, so that was something that appealed anyway. And I thought, wow, I wonder if I could do that. And we thought back actually and realised that we were away for the weekend on the race, the 2006 race that Jez Bragg broke the then record in 15 hours 44. And we went for a walk from Kinlochleven and actually saw Jez Bragg running. And I remember when we came back from our walk, we came back into Kinlochleven and Kate Jenkins was just on her way out. And I remember distinctly she was running with a bag of crisps. And I remember thinking, that's not very healthy, is it, running with a bag of crisps? But realising that as I read the article, that the people we saw and the checkpoint we saw at Kinlochleven was part of this West Highland Way race. So I thought, that's what I want to do. So I got in touch with Dario. The website was great and lots of stories there, and I started reading all about it. And I got in touch with Dario and asked whether I could apply. And he sent an application form. Those days, that was the October 2006. So applying for the 2007 race. And I think he said there was about 70 people who'd applied so far. And I've sent my application form in. I think he rang the next day and we had a chat, and he said, yeah, he said, it looks as though you've got experience, but you'll need to step up your training and various things. And I said, yeah, that's fine. So that was my introduction to the thought of doing the West Highland Way race. And I remember sitting down in the sort of January once I'd got my place and thinking, right, how do you train for a 95-mile race? And I decided there was two things I wanted to do. One was to try and increase the distance I ran each month. So I set a program up from January, February, March, April to run 5-10 miles further each month on a single run. And then the other thing I wanted to do is to cover the route. So all my training runs, I tried to get friends to help me, and I'd start from Balmaha and run to Benglas and then get someone to pick me up and this sort of thing, and to cover the route. And very quickly I started my blog as well. And I'd had a friend who'd done a blog, and I thought, oh, that'd be really good fun. So I decided to set up this blog. The only blog about the West Highland Way I could find was Ian Beattie's, West Highland Way runner. And so I thought, well, I'll just share everything that I'm learning about this year. And I honestly thought it would just be a one-off event. I would just do it once and that would be it. And then I would move on to something else. But I remember doing a run, it must have been the December, and Ian got in touch and said, would you like some company? So we met up and we ran together. And I remember Ian saying, is this something you think you'll do again? And I said, no, I'll just do it once. And I remember Ian saying, there's no way you'll just do it once. I think he could see my enthusiasm and how I was enjoying it, even that run. And so as I got to know more people and went on quite a few training runs in January and February and invited friends, and people came along, and some on my own and some with people. And then Ian said as well that there's this Highland Fling race, which is 8 weeks before the West Highland Way. And that's a really good one to be able to fit over the first half of the course. So you can practice and you can feel part of a race. And there was 70 people who took part in that race. That was 2007. The first fling was 2006, and there was 19 people in that one, and then I ran the second one, and it was great. And that was my very first ultra in 2007, and I remember running into Tyndrum with tears in my eyes and feeling that now I belonged as an ultra runner. And to be honest, I've never looked back. I did the West Highland Way that year, 2007, and this is my 11th year of running ultras, and I'm up to 39. And next month's fling, or this month's fling, 2 weeks time, 2 weeks on Saturday, it will be my 40th ultra. So that's how I got into ultra running. And I'm so glad I have. I've met so many great friends through the ultra world and the ultra family. I'm part of the West Highland Way committee now, so that's a great thing to do as well. Look after the website and do the podcasts, and enjoy just being able to give back something into the ultra community as well. But that was my story of how I got into ultra running. And I say these videos, I'm going to call them Love Ultras, and I'm going to just share some of my thoughts about training, about gear, about some of the races I've done and various things. And hopefully they'll be helpful to others and be a nice record for me of some of the things that I've done.